Welcome back everyone, this is Mindy Eggen, and in today's video I'm going to be creating a New Year's card using some of the supplies I already have in my stash. I'm going to start by showing you the supplies I'll be using. This is the Radiant Stencil from Honeybee Stamps and Sip Sip Hooray stamp set. I'm also going to use the Iridescent Glitz Glitter Gel, VersaMark, Candied Apple, Squeezed Lemonade, Peacock Feathers, and Wilted Violet Distress Oxide inks. I have some low-tack tape, honeybee glue tube and the glue tube holder, rainbow rhinestones, my trusty tweezers, and embellishment wand, foam squares, my anti-static powder, and also a spatula for the Iridescent Glitz Glitter Gel, and my large tape runner from Scrapbook Adhesives, and then my blending brushes from Honeybee Stamps. I'll start the card off by doing my ink blending first, and this is starting with Candied Apple Distress Oxide ink and a piece of white cardstock that measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'm starting with that Candied Apple just in the top right corner, and I'm going to slowly blend on that color starting off of the paper and working my way on. I love how the brushes just glide onto the paper, and I'm working on a Tim Holtz glass media matte surface, so it really does just glide right on the paper, and I'm going with a really light hand in some circular motions. Then I'm going to bring in Squeezed Lemonade. Now what's really nice about this is you don't have to have a ton of ink colors to do this rainbow background, because when that Squeezed Lemonade meets the Candied Apple, it's going to create that orange. So I'm making sure that when I'm applying this ink, I'm putting a good amount down as far as coverage on the card, because I need that overlay to create that other color. Now I have the peacock feathers, and you could see I'm covering quite a large chunk of the bottom of the card. That way it can overlap into that yellow and create a beautiful green. I did come back in with the Squeezed Lemonade and overlap that a little bit more so that I could still have the orange, the yellow, and then that green that's going to be created overlapping onto the peacock feathers. Now I'm bringing in the Wilted Violet and just adding that right in the top corner. Then once I have all of my colors ink blended, I'm going to bring in the Radiant Stencil from Honeybee Stamps. I'm lining this up over my panel, trying to center it as best as I can. I'm going to flip it over and hold that stencil in place with some low-tack tape. You could use washi tape or any other low-tack tape that you have on hand. This is just going to secure my paper to the stencil. Then I'm going to go back over my panel using those same colors and trying to keep it within the same area that those colors are in. So it's going to give me kind of a tone-on-tone look. And this step you really don't have to do, but I thought it just really amplified that Radiant Stencil a little bit. Now, when I was digging through my supplies, I had discovered I really didn't have a lot of New Year's sentiments or anything that really went with New Year's. So when I dug through my supplies, I thought this Radiant Stencil would be really great because it's kind of celebratory, as I see it as. It kind of adds that pop to your card. And the sentiment I chose, which is going to be off of the Sip Sip Hooray, I thought just was really fitting for a New Year's card. So after I have all of these colors added through, I'm not going to remove my stencil yet. I'm going to take a cloth or a rag and just wipe away any of that excess color that's on top of the stencil. And we need to leave this in place because now I'm going to add the Glitz Glitter Gel. And this is just going to add a lot of really great shimmer to our card. So using my palette knife, I'm going to scoop some of that out and just start spreading that all over the entire background. Very similar to spreading soft butter over your toast. You're just going to add that and then spread that through. I did find with this particular stencil, it's a lot easier if you go in the direction that the rays are going. And then once I have that applied, I'm going to just scrape off any of the excess. So like I said, you didn't have to do the additional ink blending, but I think it just really adds a little bit more interest to the card. Then I can remove my stencil, and I'm going to set this off on the side to dry for a few minutes while I work on my sentiment. I am using a piece of black cardstock that I have loaded into my MISTI. I'm prepping that with an anti-static powder and just spreading that across the cardstock. This is going to help so that my embossing powder really only sticks where I want it and not over the entire piece of cardstock. Then I added in the Sip Sip Hooray sentiment. I'm inking that up with the VersaMark ink. And then I'm going to sprinkle on some white detail embossing powder. Now, I chose this sentiment. There's a lot of great sentiments on that stamp set. This one I thought was really fitting for staying inside, whether you're sipping on wine or apple juice or any other type of beverage you prefer on New Year's. I thought this one just really kind of fit the situation regardless of how you're celebrating. Then I just used the coordinating die, lined that up over the sentiment, and ran that through my die cut machine. Now, what I like to do is layer my panels with cardstock instead of foam tape. So I trimmed my ink blended panel down to 3 3/4 by 5 inches. And I also trimmed down 3 other pieces of heavy cardstock to that same size and layered them together. That just provides even coverage over the entire panel. And I added that to a white card base. So I have a really nice white margin. Then I added foam squares to my sentiment, and I'm lining that up right in the center. Then to finish everything off, I'm adding some of the rainbow rhinestones kind of in between where those rays are coming through, and I'm just doing that with an embellishment wand and the liquid glue from Honeybee Stamps. So I'll give you a closer look at this background here in just a moment. I really love how that iridescent Glitz Glitter Gel just really takes on the color behind it and adds a ton of sparkle to it. It's a really pretty background. It's great for any type of card, but I think it's really great for this New Year's card that I have. So I hope you enjoyed today's card. Thank you so much for watching. I will have all of the supplies listed down below in the video description and over on my blog as well. Thanks again, and I'll see you again next time.